Bob with Million Mile Garage. This is actually part 3 of our Classic Industries pre-covered ABS headliner install for the 1972 to 76 Plymouth Duster, Dodge Dart Sport, and Dodge Demon. If you missed parts 1 and 2, we pretty much recap those episodes in this one. And so I'm kind of trying to make episode 3 all-encompassing, so you can watch this one and you'll have a pretty good idea start to finish what it takes to replace your rotted, dried out, nasty cardboard pressboard headliner with the new ABS one. Some of the things they put in here, I mean, this is what you get for instructions with the headliner. So keep in mind, you know, when you watch this video, I'm just assuming I'm going to take this and put it in the car and life goes on, right? Happy ending. Not the case. So these are the instructions. It says install in the car with the sun visors and mirror loosely installed, and then make any minor adjustments and then install the dome light and the rest of the trim and complete the install basically, right? No, not the case. These are the minor adjustments. And that's on a headliner that's pre-covered. So you have to be able to make those adjustments without destroying the covering on the headliner and get the headliner to actually fit in the vehicle. So now that I got your attention, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, bookmark it, whatever you have to do. You don't want to miss this video. If you're contemplating putting one of these in and you've never done it before, and trust me, I got 40 years car crafting experience, and this one gave me a run for my money. I'd say this one ranked right up there with changing out a heater core and a Fox Body Mustang. This was a tough job. So go ahead and hit like and subscribe. I'll wait. Did you do it? It's free. You? Come on, help a guy out. All right, good. Hey, but first this, and not the cheesy intro like I usually do. Okay, here's the tools you're going to need to do these minor adjustments. This. Oh. This. 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 You'll need that for your install. Oh, and you're gonna need a couple of these. You can just pull it forward. I can grab it by the dome hole, and it should just come right out of the rubber. Easier said than done. Oh,
there it goes.
There she goes. Timber. There we go. I don't know how good you can capture that. All right, so while I bought this from Classic Industries, they do have the manufacturer mark on the back, and it actually is, and it says Acme Delivery. I think that is actually the brand, believe it or not. You know, like Wild E. Coyote and Roadrunner type stuff. I guess that's who made it. We're having some fitment issues on the headliner. You can see that the headliner won't tuck underneath the corner of the rubber on the rear window here. And this piece right here sticks out way farther than the other side does, which tells me there is a problem. Of course, I got the sun visors out now, but even when I had them in, I cannot get the rubber to tuck around this headliner. It just seems like it's too long. And again, I don't know if it's because I can't get this to fully go up all the way and shorten the length. You know, like when I push on this, you know, that gives us a little more room, but it just doesn't seem to want to go. Okay, we got the headliner back out of the car. Measuring from a reference point that are hopefully about the same. I've got the tape measure stuck in the sun visor triangle coming across diagonally. I'm getting 67 inches from that hole to the end of the rear here, and then going to the other side lining it up, coming over this way. I'm only 66 inches right here to the end. You can see here why it wouldn't tuck around the corners. Look how much more plastic there is here from there to there. I mean, you're talking like almost an inch. And actually from there to there, that is about an inch. I'm hesitant to cut too much of this away right here, but also looking here, you can see we easily have a 1/4 of an inch extra coming up underneath here. You can see the overhang here. So we're about a 1/4 inch too deep all the way down. Okay, here's where we are. This is what we trimmed off of the passenger side, front corner, windshield area. Took that amount off. Now I'm going to come in here and just do the same here. I'm going to take a little bit more off with a heated up box cutter knife. We're just going to take just a little bit off here, like maybe, I don't know, maybe just a little over 1/8 of an inch maybe. And just clean that up and just open that up a little bit more and see if that gets us there. All right, I got the vinyl peeled back and we're just going to heat up a packing knife, cardboard knife. We're just going to come in here, and I'm just coming in here right here, and I'm just cutting this off, just melting it off. And then just peel it back. Just coming in and getting the last bit. Go right down to the... Okay, we got it back in, and it fits a little better here, but it still sticks out too far. I still could have cut a little more off here, and I need to radius this about 1/8 of an inch all the way around from here to here. I cut the end off so it tucks underneath there. It's not a problem. Right up in there, I'm trying to show you. That spot right there is shortened, but it's just not enough to get it to go in all the way. So I'm going to have to go in and work that over just a little more. Still fitting good over here. See, it's completely different over here for whatever reason, and that fits nicely. And then coming up over here real quick, this fits pretty good. I've still got a spot under the corner here that hits. I'm going to have to trim that back a little bit. I'm going to have to come in and trim that. And there's enough of it that tucks in behind here. You won't see that when I shorten it. And I'm going to have to take another 1/8 of an inch off from like here to here to get this to go. This just isn't going to clear. So I was able to get the gasket tucked down from the center all the way down pretty good. It's tucking in nicely. That looks good. That looks real good. But it's just the contour's not right here. I got to take some material, some plastic back in there, and I'm going to have to cut 1/8 off there. And then coming back over here, it looks like to me they didn't get the way they cut this. They left way too much material off here. You see how this just hits right in the center of the pillar right here, and that really should be this break right here where it's breaking here should be over about a 1/4 to 1/2 an inch this way. So I'm going to have to come in behind here and trim some of this back, so this is going to lay right. That's also a problem, mainly down in this corner right in here. I gotta be careful how I do that because I don't want to throw this edge out of alignment, but that doesn't fit right. So, and I'm gonna have to take another 1/8 off right here also. It's just not gonna tuck underneath the gasket. It's just not gonna do it. Okay, we just took a little bit off here on the driver's side also. That's where we're at there. In here. So we'll set this on top of the headliner, the old headliner, and see how that measures up now. I'm hesitant to take this part off right in here until I know if removing this part here allows this to lay flatter inside the windshield header post, the metal part inside the car. If this makes this fit better, I may not have to worry about removing anything off the edges here. I want to be careful about getting too short on the edges, and then I won't want to stay tucked underneath the gasket. And right now we were just about perfect, except for where this thing just wouldn't lay flat. So let's see how we can get on there. And I am just going to real quick go in and just shorten up that other end on the rear there where it meets the glass. And just coming in and just taking a hot knife and cutting the foam back. Okay, that's what it looks like on the right rear over the window where I said I was going to radius that a little bit. I took a little chunk off the end here where it was pushing the rubber out, and then I just went in and radiused this up a little bit where it looked like it was pushing the gasket out too far. I just came up here, tried to give it a real smooth transition. Hardly took any off here, and then just worked it all the way around. And then I went in here and I took a little bit more off the end here, just so I shortened that tail up a little bit in hopes that that'll will tuck underneath like it's supposed to. So I guess the next thing to do is just stuff it up in the car and see what happens. Okay, this is what almost looks like. You can see I got it to fit under the gasket nicely. And then coming down here you can see where not so nice. And I did have the visor installed loosely, and to try to get the gasket to go over this corner here, it just does not want to go. And again, you see when this starts to tighten down, this thing kind of pokes down and out. It just makes it really difficult to get in. So I'm definitely gonna have to go in and do some recontouring, a little more trimming, something to get that to go right. And it'd be nice if I could come up with a way to get this to slide in under the windshield gasket first, because the rear one is a lot easier to do. And I still got just a tad bit of trimming to do right here. Of course, when this is pulled up like it's supposed to be, it's not as bad, but I still could take a little more off in here, but that's fitting okay-ish. Not as good as this side. And then just panning over here real quick. I got the visor on over here. Also, same deal. But this one was trimmed maybe just a little different on the corner. It fits in here pretty nice. You can see where the edge stops right here. And it does fit up a little better, but it still sticks down too far right there in my opinion. And it looks like too that it goes down when it compresses here. This is pushing out a little farther around this turn. So I probably need to go in and just pull this edge in just a little bit to get it to go around that curve. And I think I still may end up cutting a relief behind here in the plastic, not removing anymore, but just cut a stripe behind there so that it'll fold in on itself a little bit more right there and conform to that turn. The problem I'm running into is this ABS plastic is so much thicker and stronger than that fiber shell was with the foam sandwich in between it, and it just doesn't want to conform to little areas like that. It's just making it impossible to do the finish fit out right there and have it look right. But I think I can massage it. I think I can get it there. And also, just coming in here before we take this out again, I just took my masking tape and moved it up so I can see where this thing's laying now. I ran it all the way along, marked out both sides. Okay, I got the headliner out and I'm going to show you guys something. I took a piece of the other headliner that had broken off anyway and just stuck it in the corner here so you can see how it's kind of compound curved and it fits up in there really well. And of course, you know, it's like a third the thickness of the other unit going in there. So, and you can see it didn't really go in very far underneath that gasket. You know, you can see you could push it down quite a bit more. Well, that other one is too long and too thick. And because it won't conform to this curve right here, it's going to keep pushing this gasket down even if you can get it underneath it. And you can see I put the blue tape here is where that corner is still lying. And I'd taken about 1/8 of an inch off almost all the way around. I think it even took a little bit more off here last time. But you can see up here, it's perfect. The amount of headliner that goes underneath, it's just right. But coming over here, even though you got more flappage here, it just doesn't want to go in there. And then of course, part of the reason is you've got this you know, cardboard headliner that conformed very well, and it looked like to me it was pre-formed at the factory, and it actually looks like it's part of a I don't know if you've ever seen one that's not completely destroyed, but they actually kind of had some indentations where the sun visors went to make that sit a little lower, where the ABS one doesn't have that feature. And I'll go inside and show you that. Okay, I got this lined up pretty good, sitting on top of the old one. Just setting it right here. You can see where there's enough headliner left here, how this had a contour from the factory where it's scalloped in real nice. And you can also see, hopefully the lighting will let you see it, you can actually see there's a spot right here where they actually pressed it in at the factory. This whole thing is curved inward in this one spot in an arc, and then they bring it all the way around and contoured it so that the headliner had the curve in that area, so it would just drop right in. And you can see how pronounced the curve is here, where it'll fit right inside the inside of that windshield pillar post. Whereas, you know, this one is not really contoured like that. It's just flat, and it's gonna just really give me a bad time. So I think what I'm gonna do is just come in here and score it in a few spots so that it'll kind of collapse open on itself, accordion out a little bit when it goes in. That should help it fit. And I'm going to come in and take another amount off somewhere around in here over. Probably take at least another 1/8 of an inch or so, and do it on both ends. And I think that's just about got it to where it's gonna, I think it's gonna drop in and fit. Okay, what we did, we took the headliner and set it on the roof of the car, trying to figure out the contour issue that we're having. So panning in, I've got it lined up perfectly on the roof, and pushing it down right here in the center, you can see the end of the headliner lines up with that ridge on the rubber. I'm just using that as a reference point. You can see here, just pushing this up against the metal trim, and this is lined up with this ridge on the rubber. See, it's hardly any overlap. But coming over here, as you press it down, you can see, and I also got the blue tape here to show you. This, I never noticed this the whole the whole time we've had this car. I never thought about it. But this windshield actually splays upward here. It doesn't go downward a little bit like the Camaros do. So there's a big difference from over here to over here. So when you come down over here, putting this under here like this, you can see there's a big difference from here to here. So we're still off a pretty good amount, and that's kind of what I showed before, this thing going up underneath the rubber. There's a big difference here. So I'm thinking, just looking at this gap right here, I could no problem take off another 1/4 of an inch up to about there, and then taper it off a little bit, because it seems like it starts not fitting just before this sun visor mount right there. So we're gonna have to peel this back, and we're gonna have to mark this, and we're gonna come in like this and probably come down at an angle until we hit 250 and bring that off just like that. And I think I'm also, for the heck of it, gonna come in here and I'm gonna cut a relief right here, because we have this compound curve issue that I showed earlier, so that this will fold in a little better. Because what's happening now is when this hits the end of the windshield pillar post in there, this bends like this, and it creases this right here on this point here, and you get a wrinkle right underneath the visor. So we're gonna have to go in and we're gonna have to massage this a little bit more. Just to show you, we took the original headliner and set it on the roof. Now, of course, it's really fragile and it's not gonna mash as much, but you can see just getting it lined up with the mirror holes lined up with basically the center of the roof. And I can't flex this down too far because it's gonna snap, but you can see I've got this lined up with the stainless steel, and coming all the way down, it lines up all the way and it doesn't overhang anywhere. You see how it just stays? I run my finger along like this, along the stainless. You see that? It doesn't push it out. So this is definitely contoured differently than the replacement unit. And then coming over here where you can get a better picture of it. And this area here, we've got like a compound curve. So you can see it's curving down this way and also curving this way. So I'm still kind of on the fence of, do I want to snip it here a little bit or come in here? Actually, maybe do 3. 1, 2, 3, like that on the other one. Because you can see this curve right here is going to cause a fitment problem when you try to tuck it underneath the gasket, because it's still going to want to stay flat even once I get it trimmed to where it'll fit this contour this way. So looking down here, just showing you what I got to deal with here. They did a nice job forming the headliner here. If you look out this way, this was vacuum formed, and that looks good. They put that nice line there, you know, instead of it just being pieced together. And then they slid it here where it's going to fold just like the factory one did. But this is not contoured at all. This is basically a semi-flat piece, and it's not. It doesn't have those compound curves built into it. And this is very rigid. And of course, with the foam and the plastic, it's about 3 times as thick as the fiber shell liner. So you're trying to get this to fit under the gasket, and you're also trying to get it to bend on this plane and then bend on this plane, and it's really stiff, and that's the problem. So I'm trying to figure out if I just want to, I got to figure out where I'm going to put my reliefs. And then we're going to have to go in, starting off here, and then angle down, take the 250 off, and then relieve it. And I think that's going to get this to where it's going to fit into the car. Because the way it is now, it is not going to fit unless you just left it sit outside the gasket. It just flat out isn't going to go. This is the tape line I put when I couldn't get the thing to fit under the gasket before. So there's this much of an overhang on the replacement headliner starting around here. Really starts dropping, the angle starts really about right there. And then all the way down, you've got that drop. So you can see where I've taped here and where I put this in here, there's my depth. And then pulling this out and comparing the depth to here, you can see it's basically bottoming. It would bottom on the gasket in here where the gasket stops. So there's not enough real estate in there to fit that headliner at the length that it's at now. And then here's the issue I have to deal with here is you've got this contour here to fit in this way. So it's bent, this way, and looks like it's bent down that way a little bit too. And so you got that kind of contour action going there where that has to fit in. And basically this is where the headliner ends right here where it folds in. It breaks off about right there. And then you're trying to take that and fold it into this area here while you're pinching it with the sun visor. And that's when you get that crease right there, because it's basically bridging across this way like this. And you're trying to get it to bend in like that, and it doesn't want to go. So that's really the only thing that's keeping me from getting this in the car and having it look factory. Hey, just one more shot before I carve this thing up. I pieced this corner together best I could and kind of mashed it out a little more flatter, because that's going to change the dimension up to the edge, because obviously as you pucker this out, it's going to shorten. But you can see how this headliner, if you have it, and this is just a tad longer with the vinyl on, but if you mash on it, you can see it pretty much compresses to the same length. But coming over here, you can see how this splays outward. Just on that one spot, it comes over. It just still doesn't quite match, and that's the fit out problem we're having. Okay, there we are. I whittled off a 1/4 inch on the fat end. Just kind of started off easy and then tapered down. So got a pretty smooth transition. Looks pretty good. And this is how I did it. I'm going to do it on the other side. I'm just bringing it in at an angle, coming down here, coming in over here. So I have a nice smooth transition. I'm going to come up and then whack off about 1/4 inch off of this end here too. And there we go. Looks like I took about 250 off, maybe just a tad more in the end. Took both headliners and laid them on the roof and got them lined up with that piece of stainless trim, which I think pretty close approximates the curvature of the windshield. So you can see everything lines up here, going all the way down, and then coming down here. Of course, my vinyl's poking out a little bit on here. I'm going to have to glue it down, but you can see I got a piece of tape here to kind of simulate where I think that line would have been, where we lost part of the old headliner. But you can see everything lines up. So that's well within range of it. Should go right in. So I think we're pretty close. Just showing you the back real quick, you can see the rear sticks out a fair amount more than the stock one did, but it doesn't seem to cause an issue for the gasket on the straightaway. But when you come down in here where it needs to curve in, for some reason it doesn't like it on the passenger side. The other side fits just fine. So I'm going to have to come in and radius this. You can see this isn't radius quite to match this overhang, but I'm going to have to come in and pull this in a little more and then cut it off on the end a little bit. Alright, let me see if we can get that last corner off right here. There we go. Just taking the hot knife and just carefully peeling the foam off. Try not to make too big of a mess of things. You can see some of the foam came off on me. That's okay, we're going to wrap that around. So I started off shallow and then brought it all the way around and brought it up to about 1/4 inch. I guess at the meat of it, about 1/4, maybe a little more towards the bottom. So when we wrap that around, that should closely match the contour of that area in the window where we can't get it to go. Just cutting a relief in where we talked about earlier, so this thing will flex a little. Cut. So what I'm trying to do is not cut all the way through. It kind of melted itself back together. I got the blade pretty hot. There we go. So now we get a little bit of flex. Let that give, just like that. I'm hesitant to cut the one this close to the sun visor, so I'm going to cut another one right here. So I got one at an angle and one kind of going like, I think I'm actually going to come over just a tad more this way, so it mirrors the other side I did. This one works perfectly. So I got two places where it can fan out, and hopefully that won't cause the material to kink on the other side too much. So I'm going to come in like that. I wasn't happy with the way I drew it before. We're just going to come up like that. Just like that. I have one going down just like that. So it should break about the same way the other side's going to break. At least I hope it does. Here we go. Right here. Just press it right through. Yep, and that'll break. That'll break just fine. We just want it to be able to flex just a little bit. That should be fine.
And voila! It fits by the hair of its chinny chin chin. It breaks right there and goes right up and covers it. You can see here, I don't have a crease where that headliner was folding right there. Those two reliefs are doing their job. So, and you know, just like where this thing is laying, it's breaking right here, and then it's caving in right there just enough so that it's got a good fit. And of course, you can't see any lines or anything from me doing that. And just, you know, scanning all the way along, you can see it tucks under nicely. Check out the other side too. So I'm going to say that's about as good as I'm going to get it. I could shave off a little more material on the passenger side. It looks like it just pushes down on that gasket just a tad. I'm not sure if cutting another relief in would help. It might. I've got to take the headliner back out anyway for this reason right here. See these indentations right here? These are the cutouts I did behind the vinyl for my shoulder harness belt clips, those stainless clips we talked about in the first video. So I'm going to have to go in and do the other side. And what I did, because the headliner was crumbling, I went in with a magic marker and marked on the car where those are supposed to be. And these are close. I think they're off maybe 1/8 of an inch. But where the trim goes on, I want to make sure when I get those clips in, they're going to match up on both sides. And you can just showing you here how nice this trim's going to cover up all of this stuff in here where this folds in, because you can see this is different on this side than that side. There's a different hang. But if we just tuck this in underneath, this will go up, and see how nice that looks when it's finished out. It looks perfect. But one of my clips is going to go right here, and that's kind of how they did when the car was together before. I don't know why they let the clips go underneath a piece of the plastic trim. I would have liked to have had them back a little bit. And actually thinking it through, I probably would have reset these a little bit, even though they wouldn't be stock, so they wouldn't underneath this. But I want to make sure that, see how this breaks right where the metal goes? The first indentation. I'm going to do that on the other side as close as I can get it. I just want the clips to look exactly like they did when they were in the car. And panning around to the rear, just showing you the fit out in the rear, I'm going to come over here and just show that one corner. This side fits pretty good. And again, if you pull it up a little bit, it doesn't push down on this corner as much. And that's why I'm going to put some tape back here where those coat hanger screws are. And I'm going to wrap it with the back of my hand so I get a nice imprint where that screw hole is going to go. So when I take this back out, I'm going to go ahead and drill it for the coat hooks. This one actually sits down a little lower on this side for whatever reason. This bolt goes in really hard. And my shoes are off, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to show you how I reinstall the headliner after I get this out and finish my fittings. So, but just like when this goes up just a little bit, you can see how this fits a lot better, because when I'm moving this up, this shortens the length right there just a little bit, just enough to where it fits pretty good. I could still go in and shave 1/8 of an inch off in the spot right here, and it wouldn't hurt anything. I probably may end up still going doing that. And I took some more off of this, and it's still long. But I think when the sail panel goes in, it's going to push this over like this and cover it up there. But it looks like I still need to cut maybe 45 it. It's probably what I need to do, is come in and just 45 it right there, so it's not catching on that. That's how I'd like it to go. And it still may fit up in there like that. I think that's kind of how the intent was. So I'm going to say this is about 90% complete, and I think it's a success. Everything I said would happen happened. This thing fits perfectly now, which there was no way it would have fit before. I don't quite understand why they left it oversized like that. I don't know if it actually was just an error made by whoever was cutting this particular one out, or they just don't have it set up right. I don't know. I tell you what, I'd like to, anybody that's tried to put one of these in, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to see the experience you had or how you think I did on this. All right, just showing you what I did to the back of this so I can get those seatbelt clips, seatbelt harness clips to go on. I just marked it off and went in from the back and just cut it off with the hot box cutter knife, and was careful not to cut through the vinyl on the other side. And that way these things will they'll just slide right on. Take this thing right here and just slide it on. And go right on. Takes a little bit of force. Then once you got them on, and there's how they look from the other side. The molding comes up and covers it about right there. So all this stuff in here you're not going to see. And that's pretty much how the original one was. It's coming in here, see that? You see where I got a little overzealous right here. Burn through and nick the vinyl. But that won't be seen when that's covered up with the trim. And that's the way the original ones fit too. These clips, they had the cutouts on the cardboard like that. Okay, I decided to go ahead and just radius the passenger side real quick because it just poked down just a little bit in the rear over that rear backlight. So I've already trimmed it, and I'm just going to come in real quick and hit it with just a little bit of 3M General Trim Adhesive. It doesn't take a lot. Just string it over. Let it sit about 30 seconds, and then I'll press it down. We're using 3M General Trim Adhesive just to glue the edges back down. It says it's good for lightweight headliners. Heavyweight headliners, it says use Super Trim Adhesive, which I've used in the past. So I probably wouldn't use that to glue an entire headliner down, but for what we're doing, it's great. And it was really convenient because it was sitting on the shelf at Wally World. These are the rearview mirror screw mounts. I'm going to put tape over the back of the headliner, and when I get it placed in the way I want it, I'm going to wrap it with the back of my hand so that the screws will leave dents in the blue painter's tape. That way I'll know exactly where I need to drill the holes before I put it back in. Panning over just above the quarter window, I'm also doing the same thing with the coat hooks. And I'm hesitant to put the coat hooks in because, right there, I'm hesitant to put them in because they are, if I can find one of them, I wanted to show you right there. They have teeth on them, and they were designed to bite into the original fiber shell board. I don't think those teeth are going to bite into the ABS that well. And one of the fears I have is somebody trying to hang a coat hanger on it and having this thing rotate, and it's going to grab that vinyl and twist it and stretch it and make a mess. The conundrum I have is the original sail panels are fragile that are going to go in and hold this headliner up, and basically it's held up in tension by the seatbelt bolt, the harness bolt. So if you take that seatbelt harness bolt out, it's going to put a lot of pressure on this area here, even though I will have a piece of trim holding it up here screwed in. I just have a fear of that getting crushed inadvertently. I know this coat hook mount is actually going to be an additional place to hold that headliner up out of the way, so I'm not putting any undue tension on those very fragile old sail panels that have to go back in and cover everything up. Coming up under here, there's the screw, and there's my imprint. All I did was just lay it back like that, and then just wrap it with the back of my hand. And you get that nice imprint.
Just coming in here, there's our indent from our coat hanger hook screw. I'm just going to drill a pilot hole right in the center to start. Just going to hit it right in the center. Steady. There she goes. Once I got this, I'm going to go ahead and pull the tape. There's our pilot hole. Now that we got our pilot hole, I'm just going to come in and enlarge this. I'm a big fan of pilot holes. There we go, piece of cake. The only thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to pull some of that foam out of there. I think I'm going to have to go back in there and just cut that with an X-Acto or something. I noticed this foam is real bad about catching those sheet metal screws, and then it tries to ball up on the screw when you tighten it up. And I want to end up tearing the foam around the hole on the outside where you're going to see it on the back side of the headliner. Just a quick shot of where I marked where my pilot holes are going to go. You can see they line up pretty good with the original headliner. Just moving this back out of the way so you can see what I'm talking about. I came in with the headliner installed in the car with the screws installed behind the headliner board, wrapped it with the back of my hand, and then took just a silver marker and highlighted where those impressions were left on the tape. You can see I barely had enough tape there, and it looks like it lines up really good with the original holes and the original headliner. So I'm going to drill 3 pilot holes there, and I shouldn't have any issues getting the mirror mounted on the car once the headliner's back in. Hey, just a last sanity check, measuring to the inside triangle on the sun visor hole and coming all the way over here to the center screw that holds the mirror on. I'm getting 18 inches. And then taking it over to the old headliner, lining that up and sanding it over with that hole, I'm also getting 18 inches. So I definitely feel good about that. Marked with a Sharpie where the edges of that headliner were breaking, where it folds in the center, and they're pretty close. This one's a little low, but kind of in the center. And then just panning over there real quick, you can see where the other one breaks. And the other one fit a lot better. Also pointing out, you can see the weld sticking up just below the Sharpie. That would cause a fit out problem if it was trying to lay on top of that, which is the problem I'm having back over here. Is this weld's pretty smooth right here, but right here at the factory when they welded this, they have a spot droop down right there, and that's exactly where that thing is breaking and laying, and that's raised about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to come in and just try to chisel this spot off right here best I can. There we go. Broke the slag off. I'll hit that one spot right there too. Because exactly where that was breaking is where that slag was. I'll come in and I'll try to hit that just a little more. I may have to file it. I almost got off. I actually raised it right there. Okay, that's pretty good. I think I'm going to come in and just hit that with a file. I can't get that last little bit off with the dull chisel, but I'll get that smoothed out. And that was a problem, is this thing was kind of pushing down just a tad right there, and it doesn't take much, and it wasn't wanting to break there. I actually got a piece of slag right in there too. Look at that. That also would be a little bit of a fit out problem right there. I didn't even notice that. See if I can get in and knock that out without breaking the windshield. There we go, broke it off. All right, that should help that fit a lot better. I didn't notice that before. All right, we're going to install our Acme sun visors. Just doing a quick fit out. There's the original one. And it looks like those are the same size and don't have to be trimmed or anything. So let's see how they install. All right, in installing our new visors, we have to put this one in a vise and back the old ones off. They just have like a spring-loaded tube inside them. All right, making sure that I got the passenger side one on this one. Just kidding, they're all the same. The only thing that makes it passenger or driver is the bracket you're attaching it to. And there's only one way you can put it on. You got to put it on this end with the hole. There's the tapered end of the shaft right there. It's got spring-loaded metal clips inside the visor. I'm just going to slide it on here. And they go on pretty firm. And you just have to keep leaning into it. It seems like just working it back and forth and walking it down until you get it to where it needs to be. Okay, we're putting it in the car. And the reason I'm wearing these old clothes is they don't have any sharp objects on them. And what I'm going to have to do to get this in the car, I want to make sure I don't have anything sharp on me. So here we go. All right, with one foot holding up around the dome light area, I'm going to grab this shoulder harness bolt hole right here, line it up. It's a little bit of a challenge with the sun in my eyes when I do this. There we go. It lined up. Then you just got to get the bolt to go in. Sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to get the bolt to go. Once you feel it going, then I just like to take the wrench and give it a couple of turns just to make sure it's in. Okay, that's not going to fall down on me. And then coming over to the other side, sorry about that. Came right down on me. I saved the hardest side to do for last. For some reason, this side goes in a lot harder. But once I get it lined up, I can shove this up like this with my foot, get it started. Feels like it started. Then I can just take my wrench and make sure that it's in. Sometimes it'll pop back out. I was tempted to open the hole up on this, but the problem is this thing is going to be always in tension a little bit, and if I enlarge the hole on this, it's going to let this drop down farther than it already does. And right now, it's marginal. This drops down a little farther than stock, but I test fit the trim earlier, and I know the trim will go over this and push up okay, but I was a little concerned about that. So if I open this hole up to make this bolt go in easier, then this is going to drop down lower, and I don't want that. So that's how you get it up in the car by yourself. Not too bad. All right, we're just going to go in and start the rear rubber first and see how I finally got it for the final fit out. And so far it's looking pretty good. And I'm just going to come along here and work this in. Just keep working it down. Sometimes it's easier to grab the middle first like that and then have it meet. See that? We'll just grab this and bring it right along. Push in as you go. Try not to pinch it. Just bringing this down and pushing it in as I go. Just like this. Push it in. Just like that. If it gets a little too hard, sometimes it's easier just to pick a different spot, like this corner right here. Just start pulling that along, come right in here like that, bring it right along, and then smack it up, just like that. That's looking real good. So the spot that I reworked right here, I brought this in just a little bit. I think you can see my Sharpie mark on the rubber on the inside, maybe where I got it.
can't remember, maybe, oh, right there. Little teeny tiny spot right there. I went in and marked that earlier, so I knew where that spot was. So there we go. This fits so much better on this side, the cell panel area here, but I think the whole cell panel comes up to like right there. I think that's where it pushes it on the rubber. So there's going to be a little open spot there, but there's not much I can do about that. It's the way it was made. I didn't adjust this over here, this part. This over here fills in pretty good. So when that cell panel goes up, it's going to break right there and push that in just right. And you can see now this rubber isn't being bowed down anymore. All of this fits just like it's supposed to. Coming in, just going to grab that bottom screw first. Seems to make that go a lot easier. Try to back it in first. Yep, click. Okay, we got her started. And I'm just going to go in and grab those other two real quick. Might be easier to grab this one right here. Right there, caught it. Love when that happens. Okay, that's going in. Okay, and we'll just grab the other one. We don't got to show that. Get that last screw. This one really gives me a bad time. Don't want to strip it out. That one hole. This side's always hard to get. That's right. Starting in the center, I'm just going to try to start working this in. It comes in pretty easy. Just keep working it down. Try to keep my new visor out of the way so I don't wreck it. Keep bringing it down. Keep working it. Just like that. Keep bringing it. Get this up out of the way. Just grabbing the corner here and starting it. I seem to have better luck doing it that way. And just kind of grab her down. Get that started a little bit. Just kind of coming down hard. Oh, there we go. Get that down. Pull it around. There we go. We got that. Got that started. And we just got to bring the rest of this down here. Trying to use my fingers where I can. I don't risk gouging on the corners. I think the rest of this will kind of go okay. Yep, there we go. I think I got it. Whoop. Pop this out of the way. Just hit that up in there. Oh, oh yeah. Okay, that's got it. I just got to work down the other way. And when I tighten this visor up, all of this is going to pull up in here nice. See how nice that looks? That fits so nice. I'm real happy with that. That looks so good. Okay. All right, coming back down this way. Getting that to go down too. Pushing up on this as I do it. All right, that's almost got it. There she goes. And she's in. Look at that. Oh, I can tell she's fitting flusher already after I filed on that pillar post. That looks so good. Oh yeah. Got that slag out too, so this thing fits in there snug like it should. Oh yeah, that's perfect. God, that looks so good. All right, now stuffing in the mirror. Okay, caught one of the holes. See if it catches the other one. Oops, butterfingers. Fairly straight. All right, we're going to install our clips. Just find my notches Right there you can see where the indents are where I pre-fit it. And this just goes on like this. Slides up on top. Gonna have to fit them in a little bit. They kink a little bit as you push them in. You kind of have to grab the material and work it down with your thumb a little bit so you can work those wrinkles out best you can. A lot of this stuff will settle out on its own. There we go, pushing them in like that, and then the piece of trim is going to come up like that. You'll barely see anything once that's together. That looks pretty good. I can just work this down just a little bit more with my thumb, lifting up right here, pulling this down, and then letting it relax, just like that. Pull it back, work it down a little bit, and there we go. We got that one installed. And you can see here, it's where I got a little overzealous, and I nicked the vinyl a little bit with the hot knife when I was notching that, but not a huge deal. This will slide right in, just like that. Get our clips on. Same deal. Pull down a little bit, work the material down into the crease, into the corners, rack up my notches. Yep, we put our trim on. That'll look just fine. Okay, putting our windshield header post cover on. It comes up just like this. You see how nice that's going to cover this up right here. You can see just a little bit right here. And again, most of that will probably work out. A lot of these wrinkles that went on when I put this on, like around the mirror, they're starting to work out sitting in the sun here. So we'll get this screwed on, and then we're going to get the sail panels in and then put our metal trim over. The metal trim comes up to here on these, and that'll look just fine. Okay, putting this one on, you can see this one lays a little different like I talked about before. This sits a little high, which is going to be a problem when I put my trim over it. It may not cover exactly the way I planned. You know, again, these are things that you kind of not really sure what's going on until you run into it. We'll pull this up a little bit, pull this down. This one fits a little tight. Get that thick tuck under, just like that. Work the vinyl around, get the wrinkles out. Okay, and this one we may not sit it up as high, so when we put our pillar post on, we don't want this sticking up too high. Okay, and that'll be just fine too. That's not too bad. We'll just work that down a little bit. We can push this down a little bit. We can cheat it down. That's not going to hurt anything. That looks fine. Again, we'll work those little wrinkles out right there as we put them in. We don't want to work as many of those out as we can, and then time and heat will do the rest for us. That looks fine. That's a little higher than I'd like, but that's okay. That'll be fine. All right, catching that last tough one. Just kind of work it in. Click. There we go. Well, that one went in a lot easier than the other one. Okay, we just want them snug. We don't want to put them on with guerrilla force. We don't want to warp anything too much. Okay, that looks pretty good. Not too bad. See, I got this one cheated down just a little bit, so there's not too much of this showing. That's really kind of supposed to be up to there, but again, I can't control how this part fits. It just doesn't want to fit exactly like it should. Not a huge deal. Not a deal breaker for me anyway. Compared to the rest of what I went through, I'm happy with that. We went ahead and decided to replace the rear shelf tray while we had the sail panels out, because the less I touch these sail panels, the better. Once I put them back in, I don't ever want to have to touch them again. So I already got all this stuff cut to fit, and so we're going to be covering up that beautiful original forest green paint there that hasn't seen a whole lot of sunlight, like maybe never. I'm just going to come in, we'll peel off the kill mat, and I'm just coming in and trying to get it lined up so that it lays kind of the way I want it to. Here on the rear shelf for a little bit this morning, it almost made it a little too warm to work with. I just want to make sure I got it back on this edge a little bit. Yep, that lines up pretty good. I'm trying not to let it get up on top of that ledge. I'll just work it over just a little. Yeah, we'll work it back that way, and that's fine. Trying not to have any wrinkles or creases. Stuff got a little soft on me. I'd like it to be just a little firmer when I'm working with it, but you can see I just wanted to kind of come up to the edge a little bit. That's fine. The only reason I'm putting this down is this piece of sheet metal kind of acts like a drum, And when I got that new rear shelf on there, which had, it just had that, whatever you call that stuff, that fiber backing stuff, what I call like a piece of amberlite or something like that. I think the whole idea was just to keep it from drumming. I don't really think it's, you know, I'm not going to dampen a whole lot of noise on this tray because it's a fold through here. So you got a lot of noise piping up in here. I have some opportunity to put some extra insulation here, which I might do. I'm still not sure if I want to do that or not. Well, there's an interesting thing there. I wonder how long that's been there. There's a piece of 50-year-old paper. It probably was a label at one time. Probably was a label on the bottom of that shelf tray. Cool. The sun finally comes out. I got a better shot of all that beautiful green. Isn't that pretty? Almost seems a shame to cover it up. Yep, just a quick test fit out on the trim. And you can see when this tightens down, that's how that's going to go. That doesn't cover up quite as good as I'd hoped on this one because of the way that panel splays up, but you can see this is the intended way they're all supposed to fit. That little lip is covered up and you don't see any wrinkles or anything. That's a perfect fit. And then up here I got the sail panel and on this side just to test fit, and it looks like it's going to pull up okay. This hangs down farther than I'd like. I'm a little worried about overstressing this corner right here. I'm just not going to tighten it up a lot. I think I'm past the point of trimming anything else. I'm also going to go ahead and punch my hole for my coat hanger, and also just panning in real quick here, just showing you the gap I was worried about. When this is screwed up like this, there's going to be a little tiny gap visible right here, and I didn't trim anything on this side other than just radius this edge right here. I didn't touch any of this stuff in here, so I'm going to take an extra piece of vinyl that I had left over from trimming, and I'm just going to glue it in that corner so you're not seeing sheet metal when you look through that spot. It'll make it a little less conspicuous. Not a huge deal. Just going in and punching out the hole for the coat hook. I just put the screw in backwards, made sure it lined up with the bracket back there before I'm putting a hole here. We should be good to go. There we go. I'll turn that around and we'll put our coat hook in. All right, see if I got it right. There we go. Okay, I got it started. I'm gonna wait until I know I got that hook centered the way I want it after everything else is pressed into place before I crank down on it. But we got that one in. That looks good. So we can just put our panel in. We should be all set. You can see I'm missing the end piece on the original one to the car, and it also has a nasty crack emanating from the screw hole on this side, which penetrates all the way through, working around to the other side. If that was the only problem with this part, it's very repairable. I could just go in and either plaster weld it back together. This is styrene, which should actually be a pretty good candidate for just sanding that area down real good. Put a little CA in the cracks, maybe just drill the ends of the cracks without going all the way through to the other side, and put a little epoxy and some fiberglass mat around it, and that probably would reinforce it good enough. But this one seems to be completely intact, other than being really grubby. And it's a little warped on the top here, which is why I was never real thrilled about putting it in the car. But I don't think that'll be that noticeable once it's installed. I might do a test fit just to see if it's going to go in the car before I waste the time to clean it up. But everything on this one, it's a little less warped on the top right here, whereas this one that's spent its whole life in Florida, it's got a real nasty pucker right there where it got really hot and warped. So we'll see if we can get this one to work. I'd rather use this one if I can. It'd probably be a little less work just to clean this one up and slather it in Armor All and bring its shine back. Probably going to soak up about a quart of it. I'm just looking at the other side real quick. There's the vendor mark, 3776 783 BY. I wonder if that's the same. Vendor 78
364. That's probably a date code there. 310, maybe. Vendor. And I think that little triangle might have been some of the first stuff while they were trying to identify what plastic it is, but I'm pretty sure this is styrene. That's why it got so brittle with age. All right, biggest problem I'm having with fitting out this panel that's never been in this car before, actually it probably hasn't been in a car since like 1985, is this spot right here, and you can see they actually do a little trim out at the factory where they molded these. You have to slide that past the cutout on the quarter window handle, and this thing's catching right here, and it's really important that you slide this in rather than try to peel it over, because that's how this end cap will get broken off. We don't want to do that to this because this piece is in near perfect condition. So I'm just going to take the file and I'm just going to take some material off right here, which I can take a lot off. You're never really going to notice it once it's in the car. I know they try to, have, gaps as tight as you can, but, for a 1973 vehicle, we're going to be happy if we can just get this part in without wrecking it. So I took a fair amount off right there. So let's just bring it in the car and see if I can slide it on. Okay, just trying to show you. I'm trying to block the light. You can see where it just barely clears and it's still catching on the bottom right in here. And it's just enough that it'll be hard to get this screw to line up in this hole right here. It's down just a little bit, like maybe it's off like maybe a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch down, probably about an 1/8 of an inch lower than I'd like it to be. It needs to go up just a little higher. Same thing here to get those holes to line up just right. But it does fit. It bows out just a little bit here. I'm not thrilled with that fit, but I'll tell you what, it's nice to have an end cap on there, which I haven't seen in 35 years. So it does fit in the car. That's not nearly as warped as the other one. So I did get the panel to fit in. I'm still going to have to grind some more off right here, because when I put the new rear shelf tray in right here, and then this kill mat, which isn't very thick but still not that forgiving, I'm going to have a problem getting this with the thickness of the rear shelf to clear here, because it's going to be pushing upward, and it's still going to keep going to that. So I'm going to take quite a bit more plastic off there, which you'll never see once it's in the car. It's not going to be an issue. But for whatever reason, this one just, it fits really tight. But it will fit. You got to be patient. I just don't want to break this one. This is such a nice cherry piece. And they're hard to come by now. I'm going to come in and just open this a little bit more too. Trying not to make a mess out of this. Open that up just a little bit. See if I can get it to slide over now. Close. It just does not want to go. I'm missing my thing over here too. Yeah, it's such a nice cherry piece. Everything fits good on it. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It just splays out just a little bit right there. When it's all screwed down, that's not going to be noticeable. That's going to fit just fine. So yeah, I'm happy with that. We'll get this out. I'm going to file it a little more, clean it up, put a little Armor All on it, or Meguiar's, and that'll look as good as the other one did, less the brake. I'm happy with that. All right, now that we got our window enlarged for the vent hinge, I'm just going to come in here with a stiff bristled nylon brush. I'm going to take a little dishwashing detergent, and I'm just going to come in and get all this crud off of here. I don't think this thing's been washed since I brought it home 35 plus years ago. Let's get this little douse down. I'm just going to spend a little time out here scrubbing this up. Okay, she's drying off. It looks about like I expected it. It's turning white a little bit, but you notice there's no scrunch inside the grain. The plastic's a little white because it probably actually oxidized a little bit. So I was tempted to hit it with an eraser sponge to kind of polish the tops a little bit and make it a little shiny, but I don't want to make it too shiny. And there's a ghost of something right here. And I know there's maybe something was laying on it at one time. I don't know what happened there, but I'm hoping just putting the protectant on it, it'll probably moisten everything up and it'll soak up a lot of protectant, and this will probably all gloss back out. It'll be fine. It'll take several applications, but I think it'll come back okay. Okay, I did end up taking an eraser sponge to this, and it cleaned up good. Got most of that line, that ghost line that was there. Still a little bit of it left. Just comparing it to the factory original part. You can see it's a little whiter. So we're going to put a little McGuire's on it. Let's see how it does. Just soak it in really good. And it's going to soak up most of this the first time. It's a little dry plastic. Just slather it on. Just let it soak in. A lot of times I'll just let them sit overnight. In order to send this panel home, I got to come in and grab this edge first, so this part's caught on. I'm just going to come in, grab that first. Actually, what I'm going to do is grab this first, and come in and grab this. Give me a bad time now. There we go. All right, that's lined up. And then just push this in. Almost got it. Done all the way. Yeah. Okay. Almost got it. There we go. Slides right in. Okay, these are the overhead window pieces. They go right in here. They're going to cover up all of this stuff. They have two clips on them. This little notch here is actually for installing the clips. They go in like that. I'm going to try to bias the clips so that they're over the driver's window and not the quarter. It looks like a worse place to put them for some reason. It seemed like they were oriented this way before. I could be wrong, but I think that's how they went. And I've got a lip right here that the weather strip's going to have to go over on the outside, which is going to be a little challenging because all of this is thicker now. And I'm going to have to use my yellow tool to get this part, this vinyl to go underneath this as I press it up. It's kind of a tight fit. So here we go. I'm going to grab a screw first, get it started on this end. Here, find that screw hole. Yep, okay. Try to get that over this first if I can. It'll let me. Get that over first. Like that. Get this first clippy going in. Trying to get this lined up here best I can too. About like that. That looks more gooder. About like that. Yep, okay. Get our screw started. Find my hole. Okay, I'm just gonna come in and just bop that first clip just to get it started. Just like that. Come in here, hold this one up a little bit. Just like that. We'll get this screw going in just a little more. There's a little hook here. I kind of have to hook this into plastic with this metal right here. It only hooks on one side. And then of course I got these clips that I'm trying to get lined up here. Okay, moving outside, I'm going to show you what I have to do to get this to fit because the weather strip's keeping this from going. I have to simultaneously take my little plastic trim tool and work the rubber over as I bop. You can see the clip right here where I'm trying to get it in, and it's going in right there just like that. So I had to get this hard old weather strip to go over this as I'm pushing it in. Just keep pulling it over as I do it. All right, so that's got that close enough. I can work with that. We can go back inside and I can get this to fit over the cell panel. As you can see, I got this lined up with the wear mark on this plastic here. So this should hook over this, no problem. I think it'll go through over okay. Hopefully it's not up too far. I'm just gonna come in and just hit this just a little more, just like that, and see if I can send that home over it. And it doesn't seem to want to go. Oh, there we go. Okay, I clipped that over. That looks pretty good. The other thing I'm gonna have to do as we pull this up is it's pinching the vinyl here. See how it's pushing it out? Right here, it fits pretty good. You just have to come in here and kind of work this vinyl in as you do it so that you don't have these overhangs where it's like pooching out. Just keep working it down like that. And then as it goes up, I'll just keep hitting it. But that looks pretty good. I'm gonna try to pull this up as far as I can and hit this so it covers up these spots here. That's looking pretty good. Just gotta find this hole. Please line up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That never happens when I'm filming. All right, I just wanna be careful not to crack anything. Pull up on that, listen to it creak. Ooh, creaky plastic. Okay, see how I got that to cover now. And we want to work these wrinkles out right here. It's puckering a little bit. We just want to work those down. This up here is all puckering, that's a problem. This thing fits so tight. So if I can just work this down with my fingers a little bit. Yep, just like that. Just keep going. There we go, that's what I was hoping for. Get that to spring down just like that. There we go, so it's not puckering out over it. That looks terrible until you get it to fit right. And unfortunately, we'll see how far I can pull up with the screwdriver here. This is my fit out problem here that I'm not real happy about. We showed you earlier. Let's see if we can just get this to go up best we can. Okay, that pulled it up actually pretty good. Hopefully it's not too tight, but I can't get in there and work this down. So now I can pull in this loop a little bit. Actually, that's not too bad. Actually, that looks pretty good. This still sticks up higher than I'd like it to. That's how it's supposed to look, just like that. Then come in here with my tool, work this down just a little more. You know, a spot right here that's bulging. There we go. Try not to hook the vinyl while I do that. Just keep working it in. That should go all down in there. Get to relieve it. Just like that while that's pulled out. And then pull it out. Okay. I gotta be careful with this. This is gonna try to poke a hole in my headliner. All right, that looks pretty good. Just coming in here, I'm gonna tighten this up a little bit, being careful not to pinch this panel too much. I don't wanna crack it. Actually, that snugged up pretty good. That fits exactly like it did before. So now looking at that, you can see how this fits. If I'm lucky, my weather strip's still hanging on the outside. I think it is. Yep. Okay, that was a little more involved than I thought it would be also. Some of these wrinkles here are gonna go out with time. I'm gonna leave this sit out here in the heat. Most of these, we had a lot of wrinkles when we first put it in over here. And I think this stuff is pretty good about relaxing on its own. Those wrinkles will come out with time. Okay, I crossed the finish line. Here's the finished product. You can see how well everything fits, just like it's supposed to. That one little spot I talked about, I stuffed a little vinyl in the corner. You can't see any sheet metal, it's hardly even noticeable until I point it out. Panning around here, everything fits like it's supposed to. I'm so happy with this. Doesn't fit exactly the same as the other side, but that fits very good.
You can see my salvage yard panel from 30 plus years ago, how nice that cleaned up. It soaked up all of the protectant. And I haven't gone over this before the video. That's how this looks from when I did this yesterday. So it looks really nice. It looks just like the other panels, except no pieces are missing. Also, just right here, all of this trim pulled up really nice. You can see I came in with the trim tool and tucked all this underneath the vinyl where it was pushing up. And one teeny tiny little wrinkle right there, which actually formed overnight, oddly. I think the heat will work that out, but I'm real happy with the way that the harness clips fit in. This little tiny wrinkle here will definitely disappear with age. And then coming up in here, the most difficult part of the job. I'm just going to pull this back a little bit and let you see the rubber. It just comes up and meets it right there. But if you notice, this still comes down just a tad lower than here, just because of the way it goes through this turn. But those reliefs really did their job. I'm really happy with that. And just right here, removing this harness bolt, it comes right out. So that concern I had before, this trim is very robust. It has a couple of clips like I showed earlier. You got the screws here, and I got the coat hook hanging up right here, so it'll be no issue whatsoever to just install my harness. We can get that back in, no problem. Put our C12 harness bolt in. Just like that. Stick it in the hole. There we go, that started. Yep, there we go, that's on. And this is what these are for. Just like that. Of course, you bring it around. There's some funky way I used to fold it. I don't remember how I did it, but you know, that's the gist of it. You get to stow the belts up there. I think there's some other way you fold it back. I don't remember, but anyway, that works like it's supposed to. Have just a couple of little tiny little wrinkles around the rear view mirror. There's our new visors. They work just like they're supposed to. I'm real happy with that. Looks like I might go work these over just a little farther. So at least clear the mirror. Yeah, that's not too bad. That looks good. Thanks for watching this episode of Million Mile Garage. Hopefully this painted a clearer picture of what it takes to install one of these. So you can see it's not impossible to install one, but it definitely was high effort. And also, please hit like and subscribe. Help a guy out, would you? Hey, it's free. Look at all of this knowledge I'm giving you for nothing. See you next time. Showing you right here how this just comes up and just beats the edge. That way it's not pushing down on the rubber. Of course over here it tucks under a little more. But for some reason the shape of this windshield rubber wasn't as receptive to longer as it was in the rear. You can see everything on here